Welcome to Pre-Batch. Today we're speaking to Giuseppe Gallo. Giuseppe is perhaps best known for being the founder of Italicus and more recently Savoia. And he's also the co-founder of Roma Bar Show and again, more recently, the Barcelona Cocktail Festival. Today we speak about Giuseppe's career, what it means to create an iconic brand, true ambassadorship, success in business, and we also give the Italians a light bashing. Drinks for today are the Italicus Spritz and two variations of a Savoia tonic. Giuseppe Gallo, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, Gavin. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So I will have done a little bit of an intro before we talk, but I think it'd be nice to just hear from yourself a little bit, like your background, maybe where you're from and where you grew up, and then how you got started in the hospitality industry.
Absolutely. My pleasure. So this year I'm going to be 46 years old, and my first shift in the restaurant, it was the 1st of July 1995. So pretty long time in the industry. Originally from a small town on Amalfi Coast, south of Italy. Studied hospitality since I was a kid. And then after the high school, I decided to travel to pursue my profession with the bartending world. Been traveling a little bit, working in north of Italy, Rome, Switzerland. Then I went for the first time in London to try to learn English, still try to learn today. In 2002, well. Thank you. Then went back to Italy, went to US for a year and a half, and then back to Italy again. And then in 2005, I went to London to try to spend 6 or 7 months before I would get my visa approval for the US. And 20 years later, 2 beautiful kids, wife, mortgage, 3 companies, I'm still in London. Here we go. That's when sometimes the cross line of life path decide for you.
Still waiting for your US visa.
I'm still on the waiting list. Yeah. And when I went back for the second time to London, I worked first at the Baglioni Hotel. I was working as a bartender. Then I took the manager role at the Sanderson Hotel. Back in the days, it was pretty popular in London as it was the first ever Philippe Starck, the French designer, hotel design, when it was that big sofa with the lips. Designs. Everybody knows that sofa nowadays you can buy everywhere, but that was originally started. It was a pleasure. Spent almost 3 years there, learning everything, getting into the English London bar scene, meeting everyone, coming friends with lots of colleagues that today they become all very famous around the world. For instance, Agostino Perrone, who is the godfather of my daughter, and from there, Eric Lawrence. We actually worked together at the Sanderson before he moved to the Connaught. With Alex Cretena, before he won the famous 4 World Best Bar in the world. So, you're starting to get into the scene. Then I had a couple of proposals to join a couple of brands as a brand ambassador. One, it was a very famous vodka brand. I used to run a vodka bar. I know it sounds a little bit weird, but beginning of the 2000 vodka, it was the thing. It was very hot with consumer, before all of the trends. And then I had a call from Martini Rossi to join them as a global brand ambassador. It was the first ever they will hire someone outside of Italy to do this role. It was not very much defined, and I wasn't sure about the choice. But then in 2008, I joined the Bacardi Martini Group, specifically the global brand ambassador with Martini Rossi.
Okay.
It was a beautiful roller coaster with Martini Rossi, from sponsoring the Formula One, watching Kimi Räikkönen winning the world champion in Brazil, to the Williams Racing, to the partnership with the Dolce Gabbana, to the drinks tube with Jamie Oliver, and so on and so forth. To the 150th anniversary, creating some new product like Martini Gralusso, Martini Riserva, Martini Gold by Dolce Gabbana. And then for the last few years, I was the advocacy director for the Bacardi Group at the end, and I left the Bacardi Group around end of 2015.
Okay, long time.
long time, and it was just like, one more executive was coming in, and I thought it was the right time to do the next step for me. I was about 34, 35, and I said, let me take the risk now. It was pretty jump. We had our first daughter. My wife, she was at home in maternity leave, and I had no job. We were living in London. It was nothing coming in the house, but I thought it was the right things to do back then. It's like a worst case scenario, I can always go and work behind the bar, or always can go back and work as a brand ambassador. I launched the Ita Spirits, which is a specialized events and consulting agency in London in September 2015. All of a sudden we became very busy. Client like Peroni, the famous house of Peroni, where we're starting to work more on beer cocktails. We relaunched the whole Amaro Montenegro in UK worldwide. We repackaged, relaunch, reformulate, select aperitif. We worked with the London Cocktail Week, so it was pretty busy.
That was like through Ital Spirits,
Ital Spirits.
As a sort of like some kind of brand manager or something like, yeah. Okay.
Correct, like as a consulting for them, managing the cocktail competition, created new product development. When you're working on with some clients and new product development, you always have to compromise, because at the end of the day, when you are an agency, you can recommend, but you cannot decide. Despite the expertise, the know-how, they will make the final call, the final decision. And at that point, I said, like, you know what, I don't want to compromise. Actually, I want to really make my own brand, which you need to encapsulate the Italian art and poetry in liquid form. You need to speak Italian, you need to breathe Italian, you need to look Italian. 1st of September 2016, just a year later, I launched what then would become the project of my life, Italicus, Rosolio di Bergamotto, which is basically a bergamot aperitif. Bringing back the forgotten category of Rosolio, and moreover, working on new flavor profile, which is bergamot. And back in the days, not many people, they knew what bergamot citrus orange really was. The project had just boom all of a sudden. I remember that the original plan was to do 3,000 bottles as a first production, and then after 6-7 months to see for a second production. And all of a sudden, after 3 weeks, we had to do another production of 5,000, and after 3 months, we had to do another 10,000 bottles, and so on and so forth. So he went fast, pretty quick, Italicus. From there, then I remember the 2017 being really a fast-moving year. We won Best Product of the Year, Tales of the Cocktail, Best European Product of the Year at Berlin Bar Convent, Best Product of the Year in Spain, Portugal, France, and Italy, with a different magazine. So just the brand, it was all over. It was a very interesting experience. Usually when you do a new business, you always plan for the worst case scenario. It was all the opposite for me. I wasn't ready for the best case scenario. There is something that I always remind to a lot of entrepreneurs nowadays, yes, you need to plan for the worst case scenario, but also do plan for the best case scenario.
Yeah.
From there, then
you need to be ready to take the opportunities when they arise, right? And sometimes that can be a problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And from there, then focusing on Italicus. Then in 2018, we launched the Roma Bar Show. Then COVID came. So let's say that we took 1 year break. We couldn't travel, we couldn't do much. In 2021, after a few weeks, a few months at home, a little bit bored, I went to all my old books. I tried to find and work on some new ideas. And then how we came to life with Savoia Americano Rosso, a new wine aperitif, which is focusing on the terroir, the wine production. And then in 2023, we added a second SQ, which is Savoia Orange Vermouth, which is the first ever vermouth made with orange wine. In between those, we also opened an importer distributor in US, based in Miami. We sold the Roma Bar Show in 2025. And we launched this year the Barcelona Cocktail Fest in collaboration with Giacomo Giannotti from the Paradiso.
Boom, that's all my questions. Let's go. Thanks so much, man. That was that's maybe the best intro we've had. Good job, you nailed it. I'll rewind a little bit and we'll get into some of those details. I think it's super interesting. What a career, man. A lot to learn from you. A lot to learn. Good job. Let's go back to London, because I'm English and I'm super biased. You still live in London, yeah?
I still live in London, and I always consider myself a Londoner. I still have this question today, is you feel more Italian or English? I'm a Londoner, because I can walk around Mayfair and working in any bar or restaurant, and 9 out of 10, I'm sure I know someone behind the bar or someone who works there. So it feels almost my neighbors. Yeah.
So how long have you been in London now? 2005, did you say?
20 years, 21 this year.
How was the industry 20 years ago? Take me back.
Amazing. I got to London. It was the right time, in the right industry, like, in the right location. It was absolutely perfect. It was just the beginning of what today we're calling the golden age of bartending.
Yeah.
So there were like, some great spots like the Lonsdale in Notting Hill, where Harry Bezan and Dre Masso, they used to be in charge of the cocktail program, and then Charles Vextran took over. And then Agostino Perrone just opened with Nida Ramini and Stefano Francavilla at the Montgomery Place a few months early on. The cocktail bar, a part of the Met Bar, it was still very much focused on hotels, but it was the coming of the street bar. And then from there, after 2 or 3 years, all this know-how, experience, success of street bar, he went into the hotel bar, the bar show, the cocktail competition, the brand ambassador, the tasting, the distillery trip, everything, something that is started around the period. So I have to say, between 2005 and 2012, 13, I think was the best place where to be in London. And the stake was so high, the development and the ingredients and the cocktails, the know-how, it was just at the top of the world.
Yeah, and I think that hotel bar, it seems whenever you think about historical bars, really important bars in London, but also in every major city, in New York, Paris, wherever, it seems to be the hotel bar that's been around the longest. And I suppose that's partly because the hotel props up the bar and keeps it alive. And, I suppose, a solo bar is much more at risk of just going out of business any given year. Whereas, the Savoia in London is maybe one of the most famous. But
even myself, remember working behind the bar, I had the pleasure to work with some great executive chef, which they will introduce me to new ingredients. Coming from Italy in 2005, lemongrass and ginger, I never had pleasure to taste them. When in London, they were pretty available everywhere. And of course, like Dick Brassel already done his bit. So you already have the ginger beer starting to work in there, the coffee cocktails. That's what became the espresso martini that nowadays you can find everywhere. All these fresh fruits martini, blackberry, blueberries, strawberries, were all things that we're not used to work with. We're very much on the classic side. So coming to London, it was just so much going on, so exciting, beautiful, beautiful years.
Yeah, I suppose having a really good kitchen close by is maybe less important today than it was 20 plus years ago, because bartenders are so much more knowledgeable than they were. And but yeah, I remember, I started in the north of England maybe 25 years ago in bartending, but with the north of England, as you know, and this is why you call yourself a Londoner, is very different to the south of England. Less different now than it was. Manchester is far more similar to London now than it was 20 years ago. But the difference between Manchester and London 20 years ago was night and day. There was maybe a couple of tiki bars because we had a thing for tiki, but apart from that, there was nothing 20 years ago. But I remember making like a sugar syrup, like homemade sugar syrup. It's like just sugar and water, and I'd make it in the kitchen, and people were like, "Oh, you make your own sugar syrup?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, right? We're not using the finest coal sugar syrup straight from that 2.5 liter plastic container." And people thought that was like high level in the north of England. And now it's gone so far. Oh yeah, it's insane now. What's your opinion of it now? Like the scene in London now. You got kind of two different. You got like very different camps, right? You've got like Tyrone Elementary. You've got Satan's Whiskers. More classics. You got it separating into different things. And then you've still got like Lioness. You got really cool like hotel bars, still like kind of old style but revamped. You find it interesting still now?
Absolutely. I always consider London and New York always going to be a powerhouse. They are the two cocktail capital of the world. They may gonna have some bumps on the roads. COVID was tough for everyone. And everybody knows that in the big cities, probably the bars, the operator, and the bartenders, the professional, they probably pay the bigger price because how expensive and inflation and so on and so forth. But you still have so much innovation. You still have so much varieties as well. You're going from a whiskey bar to tiki bar. You're going from an aperitif bar to a classic bar. You're going from an hotel bar to a speakeasy. And this one, you can only have this combination in a big city.
Yeah.
And London with also all these people coming from all around the world, all these ingredients coming from all around the world has been always rich in culture. So on that side, always going to be alongside New York's the cocktail capital in the world. Although I have to say there are some other city that they used to be more on tier 2, which they're really making up way up, like to London and New York. Barcelona is one of those, as we mentioned, like, probably like, Milan, Miami, there is a lot of like Chicago, Austin, Hong Kong. There are lots of like,
Hong Kong
upcoming.
is huge. They've got so many,
But I still think that like London and New York, always they're gonna lead the way, at least in terms of varieties, in terms of innovation, for anybody else in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think is special about Italians? I mean, there's many special things about Italians, but there's something special about Italian, specifically the blend of Italians who go and live in London and become the best bartenders on the planet. I mean, we're talking about Barcelona, and there's two Italians here in Spain, which both have worked in London. You're an Italian who lives in London. There's some kind of combination there where you put these two things together and you end up with an amazing bartender. What do you think that is? Or am I wrong? Am I projecting?
It's a question that I got asked pretty often, and I would say the factor is like two major things. The first one is that when an Italian leaves Italy, lose a little bit of that territorial approach. We can be very, complicated as Italian, mainly in Italy. I always have this very territorial approach, the north versus the south, or Rome versus Milan. And when you leave your country, the first thing you learn that the most powerful brand or thing you have in your hands is the made in Italy. It's your background, it's your heritage.
Yeah.
Only that one, it will help you out because you grow up with fresh ingredients, with probably your parents making some homemade stuff. So it's everything that you can bring into play in your place. And we taking this profession as a proud. We don't let the professional to choose us. Myself, I went to school to do the job, like so many others. Or actually some of them, they left school to starting the professional in the bartending world. So you really take it seriously. So you study, you apply yourself, you're traveling, you trying to learn, you also investing in yourself. And when also you're starting to be a little bit more mixed with this international approach, what we learn from the English approach, mainly as Italian, really having a proper plan, being able to plan things and not just to react to whatever
Systems.
it is. Exactly. Yeah. In Italy, we're very famous to have a lots of, regular chaos. A little bit in Spain as well, when the English approach is plan, business plan, roadmap, end to end. And these all things they give more structure to us. And when you learn how to apply this structure to your creativity approach, then you have the best combination of the two. And you're right, lots of Italians they probably went through London or even New York, then they move to another city and they have a great success because they go there, they're learning, they mature, and when they go into next step, then how they go to the next level. I remember, Giacomo, when I met him the first time 15 years here in Barcelona, he used to be a young barback. Look him now, and congratulations, chapeau to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you bring a lot of passion and and flair. I don't mean throwing bottles around. I mean just pizzazz. Something to it. And we are very structured. Right, generally very structured, but also just the hospitality industry as well. Not just as a culture, but the hospitality industry. I went through hospitality management in the UK, and it's you learn this, and then you learn this, and then you learn this, and it's you take a very serious step-by-step approach to hospitality. Yeah, and I think that's kind of unique because I've lived in a few places around the world, and I realized, you don't actually have this anywhere else. The thing that I went through. The stages of career progression that are just natural in the UK. It's a bit looser in other places. Just maybe you'll learn, maybe not.
What also helped all of us as Italian that when after the experience in London or somewhere else internationally, we also realized that we can all help each other. And we all in touch with each other. So if someone has an idea, if someone has a project, always get in touch with another Italian, and we always try to help. You have no enviness, you have no jealousy. something that I see a little bit more often in Italy sometimes. And I got this discussion between bartenders or friends on those blogs or social media. It's like, come on, guys, like, we all Italians, we all living on the same Mother Earth. Let's help each other. So that's one thing that I have to say, like, it's really admire when I arrived to London, going to see, the grand tenores like, Peter Dorelli and, Salvatore Calabrese just opened the Salvatore at the 50th St. James. Back then, he was the place to be.
Yeah.
And then, I was a young kid, like, I was even like, afraid, embarrassed to speak to them. And, like, I remember the first thing they told me, like, son, if you need anything, you let me know. This is my phone number. Give me a call.
That's Calabrese.
Yeah, of course. It's like Peter, even more cool with that one. And then, like, I know, like, I'm so lucky because actually they were there on my wedding. Like, we do barbecue together. So I call the auntie at the nonno. It's like it's always so much fun. So.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I think that's not something the English do anywhere else in the world. I can promise you that. We hang out with each other, but there's no camaraderie. There's a little bit of camaraderie, but we're so mean to each other, It's like we're not like, but you're English, we help each other out. We're more like, like we like to rip into each other. But that's our style. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
This would be an Italicus Spritz.
This is the Italicus Spritz. It's one part of Italicus, top up with Prosecco, ice cubes, and 3 green olives.
Always 3 green olives?
Always 3.
Always. Okay. Cheers, man.
Salut.
Salut. Ooh.
Nice, fresh.
People are listening. They can just skip forward a little bit while I drink this. Now we've got an Italicus. Let's, I want to ask you about that transition. You spoke about, you moved on to be an ambassador for a while. I guess while you were an ambassador, were you still bartending at the time, or was it you just went full time?
Full time ambassador.
Was that a thing back then, where because there's a lot of there's full time ambassador, and then there's. I've got some bartenders that work for me that are like part-time ambassador for the area or whatever.
It was a full-time job as ambassador, and I went from working behind the bar to join a major corporation because I was working for the global
Culture
marketing
shock, right?
office. It was, first of all, it took me 2 years to wake up, 8 o'clock in the morning and go to work at 9.
Yeah.
And back in the days, I had to go to work with a jacket, tie, shirts, iron, no, shaved, it was no compromise. It was 9 to 5 from Monday to Friday. If you will go somewhere to work for an event, you're still going back to the office on Monday morning. So it was like a different game. It took me 2 years to really adjust the jet lag, to wake up early in the morning and to be off on Saturday, Sunday. I didn't know what to do. I was just like, I don't know what to do. All my friends, they're working on Saturday, Sunday, but I cannot do much because Monday morning I need to go to work. It was a little bit of shock at the beginning, but it was absolutely fantastic. It was amazing. Going to work for the largest Italian brand in the world, such an historic brand. I always say that today I will never be able to do what I do without those years with Martini. It was the biggest university I could go. And I went to university. It was the best uni I could go. It was going and work there. Work with this top management, running events across the world. As I mentioned early on, Formula One, Dolce & Gabbana, fashion show, limited edition, Jamie Oliver, YouTube, social media. Always work with the best agency, with the best talent. It was beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Something I will never forget.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's still the thing. Maybe with some brands, but maybe not with those sort of bartender favorite brands. But back in those days, I think about Calabrese. And he's I've seen him do a few talks about his life, and he's always Formula One always comes up, and all these luxury events from 25 years ago, and being on TV and stuff like that. And I think it's it's a little bit different to how it is now. I feel like it's more on trade now. Maybe that's a bias I have, but it's a lot more on trade rather than trying to get straight out to the public. I feel like there's the bartender is more the target, and it's like you convince the bartender, and like the bartender put it in a drink, and then they'll convince the consumer, and that's amplifying your reach a little bit. Does that track?
Yeah, correct. And I remember back then, I think like it was 3.5 years I was in London. I was thinking about to move back to Italy, and I took a couple of weeks off. And as I remember, I was still at home in Italy, and a dear friend of mine used to run a great bar in Edinburgh. You're probably familiar with Bramble. And for people that have a little bit more gray hair, everybody knows the Bramble.
City. Love Edinburgh.
And Edinburgh's been always on top of the game. I always had those 3 or 4 great cocktail bars, very close community, very strong bartender background. And we just got the job as a Bacardi global ambassador. He called me up. He's like, listen, Martini, they're looking for a global ambassador. I thought you could be suitable for the job. And I remember my first answer was, what exactly is a brand ambassador? Because even myself, I didn't even know what it was. So the great thing was that I'd done the first 3 years more like a consulting. So I used to work behind the bar 4 days per week. I was still doing 60 hours in 4 days. And then at the 3 days off, I was basically traveling with the brand, helping them with the brand home in Italy. I'd done like that for a year, and then they offered me a full-time job. But I was a pure brand ambassador working for the marketing strategic team. And brand ambassador can be a very loose job title. Sometimes they're calling salespeople brand ambassador, sometimes calling PR people brand ambassador. I was a pure brand ambassador, so working for the brand, going around educating trades regarding the brand, working with the PR, working with the media, organizing events, make sure that I was doing all the job to promote the brand, but moreover to educate trade and consumer. Nowadays it's much different. You can go from PR to sales to marketing to part-time. I think it's been a little bit abused, the word brand ambassador, to a certain extent. But hey, that's how the things develop as well. And I worked with a team of brand ambassador as well, which they were amazing. I'm still in touch with all of them today. They all doing pretty well. It was different because also back then we would have all the training in terms of public speaking. How to write an email, how to do a PowerPoint presentation, how to do photography. So it was all this kind of stuff that today, they just hire a bartender, they're calling brand ambassador, go around and try to sell the bottle. That's
you don't think that training is there anymore? I feel like it's not.
Not as used to be before. To certain company, they're still doing it. I just find a lot of things too much improvised today by some brands or some companies just hiring someone and send it around. Or sometimes also see hiring or let's say paying a famous bartender just to say, I'm the brand ambassador for this brand. Come on. Everybody knows that this bartender didn't use your product till yesterday, or even it doesn't stock in this bar. It's it
doesn't use your product.
Just because you give them a good paycheck, now they're calling themselves brand ambassador. It's not credible for the brand, it's not credible for the bartenders, but moreover, there is no benefits for the whole community, for the industry. That's something that, to be honest, I don't like, I cannot digest.
What do you think a true brand ambassador is then? If you separate it from, what back in the day we would have called reps, the person who basically just tries to give you a buyback or give you, a price on a bottle, or, lock you into a deal, or you put my bottle on the back bar and we'll give you, 18 quid instead of 19, or what's a brand ambassador to you?
For me, rule number 1, you're working for one single brand. And it's a full-time job. Brand ambassador working for 5 different brands already is not credible as far as I'm concerned. Second one, your main mission should be education. You need to educate, number 1, about the category, and then about your product. So just going around and telling that your gin is the best gin in the world. Okay, thank you so much, because they pay you. Educate the whole industry or your colleagues or the trade about the gin category, and that's how we make our gin, and that's our uniqueness for our gin, or that's our different standpoint as a gin. And then third, whatever you have a chance to involve the trade or the bartenders, so you can also cross a little bit feed with the consumer, then when you're involving the trade, that you have been educated about the category and about your brand beforehand. That's what I see is a pure full-time job as a brand ambassador.
So what should a smaller brand do then because some smaller brands can't justify a full-time brand ambassador who only does one brand.
Hire different part-time.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't work for other brands, so they're still working in the bar. Make sure they understand the brand, how you made it, explain everything to them, release your information. Because sometimes speaking with the bartenders, they got contacted by brands which they don't really give them much information. So they're going around try to sell what? So if your first mission is education, you need to know everything, how you make the juice first, where the brand is coming from, what is the category, and what is your different standpoint. And then adding part-time in different cities, I try just to call them more brand expert rather than brand ambassador, and make sure that they give you the right connection or the right key to enter the trade accounts that you want to enter off. And then you take it from there. And sometimes learn how to walk before you're gonna run. Yeah. And I see lots of brands that want to run before they're learning how to walk. Yeah. It's something that I disagree with.
Yeah. Does that mean focus on your local community and grow out geographically from there, kind of thing? What about? I suppose maybe some good advice for new brands that are not part of a big conglomerate like Diageo or Bacardi or whatever. Maybe the tough truth is that if you're an owner and you've created a brand much like yourself, maybe you should be the brand ambassador. Maybe that's a truth that some don't want to, maybe they don't feel like they're the people to communicate to the world. Do you see a value? I imagine you were or still are the main brand ambassador for Italicus, right? People know you for Italicus. So do you feel like that's heavily valuable, having the owner as the face of the brand? There must be an extra pomp of value there, credibility. It's if you go and talk to a room and say, this is Italicus, I think it's great because X, Y, and Z, but also I created it, and of course I think it's great. You've got some skin in the game.
There is not a right or wrong way to do it. I can understand some business people which they rather prefer to stay in the background. But also I want to remind them that this word, the hospitality, how we call it, is a people job. It's a people industry. So you need to show up. Yeah. And need to be present. People, they need to know your face, you like it or not. Anyhow, I know lots of brands that you don't even know who's behind, but they've been very successful. So there is also a different business model. But what they did, they hired the right person or personality which could actually carry forward the brand and be real the point of focus, the point of contact for the rest of the trade. I don't want to mention any brands or any name, but there is lots of them that have done a fantastic job. Yeah. But because they had the consistency. Yeah. So you hire someone who's coming from the trade, he knows what he's talking about, they're going to be there at least for 3, 4, 5 years so they can build the credibility, and then the founders can stay a little bit more behind the scene. For me, it was a little bit different. I'm coming from this industry. Yeah. I build the brand with this industry. So for the people, I'm Mr. Italicus. So wherever I go, that's how the people, they call me. And I'm very happy, very proud of that. And I will never try to hide my face or myself. People, they know that I'm behind the brand. I got lots of support thanks to that. And I always remind to my team that my job is not 9 to 5. My job is 24/7. Yeah. Because people, anytime in the world, they want to post something online and they want to tag you. They have a question regarding the brand. They ask me, they have an idea, they want to contact me. And I have no problem at all with that one. I always say that if my goal it was not to be a leader or a public person, I wouldn't do this job. Being a leader and being a public figure also, there is some caveat that you need to be available. I'm not saying every time, but most of the time. So your private life become very small, very tiny, very little. I got to say, after many years, probably I find the right balance, but I'm still loving it. I'm still loving it. Walk into a bar, know the bartender, know their name, know who's running the business there, able to talk to them, touch the bar, know the ingredients, how they make the cocktails, discover a little bit more about them, and I can promise you, in 10 years, I now went to anybody in the world. It's when you're going to buy the bottle of Italicus or Savoia. I don't need to tell them. I will ask them all the right information. And if they want to know something about the brand, I will answer to them. But I will never ask them when they're going to buy a bottle of my brand.
Yeah.
If they want, they can buy it.
Yeah.
If they don't think he's adding any value to the cocktail program, fair enough. We are friends as before.
Yeah, and that's a little bit, to me, maybe the difference between a brand ambassador and something I would call a salesperson or a rep or something. You're just there to educate, and you should have some distance to the sale of the product almost. Obviously, as an owner, it's completely different. You need to live in two worlds. But when you're talking to people, you just talk, and then it's you do what you're going to do. There's no pressure. Yeah, I think that's interesting. So tell me what that transition was like. Then you were working for Martini. One day you wake up and you go, I got to build something for my future, or like I don't want to be a full-time job for the rest of my life, or were you just playing around with some flavors? You made something and went, this could work. How did it spark?
It was a process. It took a few years. So first of all, I realized very quick when I was with Bacardi that my favorite area to work, or where I was more passionate, it was always like the new product development, or R&D, as they say in US. And one of my first big projects was the limited edition of Martini Gold Vermouth with Dolce & Gabbana. So like already there, like working with a fashion brand to create a liquid from scratch, meeting the designer, go to the distillery, working with the master distiller. It was so fascinating. And then from there, I worked at so many other new product, limited editions, some new SKU. Then I worked on some other brands. It was always the part that it was really sparkled to me. And then throughout those years, I was doing a lot of research, because obviously I was researching on the vermouth category. And every time I was going to university in Turin or in Bologna, the two oldest universities in Italy, I always will find this word Rosolio. And I was traveling the world presenting a seminar called The Truth About Vermouth, which was a 3-hour seminar talking about vermouth. And I remember that I would mention the word martini properly twice at the end of the 3 hours. That's what I'm saying, like when you need to educate the trade about the category. Thanks to that, I also I was awarded Brand Ambassador of the Year at Tears of the Cocktail in 2014. At that, it was like a really great accomplishment, because people, they voted for me, not because probably they used the brand, because, let's be clear, lots of those friends, they didn't even have Martini Rossi vermouth in the bar. They were working with some other vermouth, no problem at all. But they knew that I was the only one going around and doing the whole training, the whole education about vermouth to them and to their staff without any issue at all, without asking them to buy the bottle. So I done that one. It was very, very passionate about the vermouth, and I always find this Rosolio. And I remember, my memories from was a childhood, this beautiful citrus coming from south of Italy, the bergamot citrus orange. And it's maybe one day, I need to do a Rosolio. Maybe one day I want to do something with the bergamot, and I try to combine the two. But the main goal, it was really to create the quintessential Italian brand, and that's why the name Italicus, it means Italian in Latin words. And it was going back to the previous point. Sometimes people, and I remember when I just launched Italicus, people is how possible a person from a different region where the bergamot is produced is talking about bergamot. It was the region next where I'm coming from, so we're talking about 1 hour by car. That's how territorial Italy can be.
Because bergamot is Amalfi Coast? Or?
It's from Calabria, the hill of Italy, the southern part, just before
and
Sicily.
And you're from the Amalfi Coast?
I'm from the Amalfi Coast.
They're an hour apart.
Yeah,
okay,
by car.
Okay.
And it's and I remember having those messages on Facebook and on Instagram, how possible, you're not true to the stories. I'm just saying that I'm using a quintessential Italian ingredients. Italicus, because we encapsulate the whole Italy. The distillery is in Turin. And the Roman column that inspired the bottle is available all over Italy. My main point was, I'm talking about the made in Italy, which is the most powerful brand we have.
I even know a few times I've introduced someone from Sicily, and I was he's Italian. He's like, I'm Sicilian. And they're like, why? It's in Italy, right? Yeah. Did I lose something? Yeah. He's like, I'm Sicilian. Yeah. it's very territorial. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No, so I try to really to break this territorial approach with one single brand. And I was already enough that I knew lots of people in the industry, some great major producers. And I remember when I launched the Rosolio, get contacted by, some very respected brand owner said like, you got to be mad. Really, Rosolio? We used to be a Rosolio. We removed it from the bottle after World War II. You're crazy. Like, you do something that nobody's gonna care about it. Like, it's such an old category. Like, nobody knows about what Rosolio is. And when I went with the bergamot, people was like, really, bergamot? Do you really think like bars that need the bergamot? It's like, well, they don't have it, so at least I can add something. Now you have like, few small brands that try to copy Italicus. You have a bergamot puree, you have like, bergamot syrup behind the bar. So like we brought bergamot in the arsenal of bartenders behind the bar before anybody else. We created a super premium Italian aperitif when back then the two most famous or popular Italian brands across the world, the best one, it was sold for $12.99 a bottle. Like, so it's like, why, if you do something with so much passion, is crafted using like DOCG ingredients, why you need to position so low? So instead of like try to commercialize the category, let's try to premiumize the category. And that's what we've done with Italicus. I think we open up the way for so many other brands. And today I can definitely witness that Italicus has become a case study, and not just for the spirits industry. Sometimes now I'm doing private courses at the Bocconi University in Milan for the business school, because they have as a challenge before the MBA to create a 100% made in Italy brand. And some of them, they're taking Italicus as a case study. Student coming from different industry, from Nivea or Coca-Cola and so on and so forth. Like, so very, very proud of that.
Yeah. I think historically, from my perspective, Italy has kind of undershot its product a few times. I think about Italian wine, and like French wine has been so premium for such a long time. And I think about Italian red. There's like the Italian reds are incredible. Valpolicella. You get these Chianti, and now people recognize it. I think, but 15 years ago, Italian wine in the UK was we called it table wine. You get it in a carafe. Wouldn't even come in the bottle that it would. They decant it into a carafe, but a cheap carafe, like £2.50 carafe. And you put that's what is this? It's Italian. It's Italian red, and you're like, okay, well, what is it? Whereas if someone brought you French wine 20 years ago, and I feel the Italians needed to premiumize.
I can prove it with a two very simple example. Okay,
please do.
Like limoncello. When you think about limoncello, oh great, I was in Italy on a holiday at limoncello, beautiful. I was in Sicily, Cinque Terre, Portofino, Amalfi Coast. But then like you go around the limoncello, all cheap stuff. And they're all competing with each other. Who's giving it the most competitive price? Yeah. Well, if you're using a quality ingredients lemon coming from very specific region of Italy, like you have all this craft, why you just push on that side? Why you don't try to explain how you make your juice? So they really made the whole category a little bit cheap, which I don't think it deserves it. I can give it one more, Prosecco. And Prosecco, when you go to Germany, just like, possible Italians, they really create this monster. Millions and millions and millions of nalita cases sold at $6.99 per bottle. Yeah. Like still, to have the word Prosecco, that means that you're using 100% Glera grapes coming from the Valdobbiadene region. How possible you're gonna price it at $6.99? Yeah. That's something that I will never understand. I disagree with that, and I try to go opposite to that direction. And of course, when you're the first one to try to do that, for the industry or for your community, you're always like the crazy one. Yeah. But have someone very famous said once, only the crazy one, they're crazy enough, they believe they can change the world. Yeah. Exactly. And I think Italicus, that's what it done in the last 10 years. And that's the entrepreneurial spirit, right? That's the belief that you can. This is a very American thing as well. That's why there's so much there's so many entrepreneurs and so much sort of optimism in America. They're like they just tend to believe that they can. It's kind of like the why not attitude, which from an English perspective we don't have enough of. We're quite self-deprecating, which is hilarious. I love as a culture, but occasionally we should be like, why not me? Why I could do that? Why wouldn't I change the world? Why it's just a small thing. It's fine. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, and back on the Prosecco point, like if you compare it to champagne, one thing that the French know very well is when they've made the amount of champagne that they feel is enough to keep the product premium, they then say, okay, well, we'll take the rest of this product and we'll bottle it under a different brand because we don't want to ruin Moët, for example. And so you occasionally, and people, I think people know this about the industry a little bit, it's like maybe they make 20,000 litres of Moët and, 15,000 litres ends up in a bottle that says Moët on it. And then the other 5,000, they're like, if we put that 5,000 out, that's going to make, it's going to bring supply and demand out of balance a little bit. Let's put it in a different brand and sell it as something else so that it remains premium. And the French have understood this for a very long time. With cognac, they're very good at this.
Before anybody else, I give you this example, okay? Obviously, I worked for the vermouth category for many, many years. So the appellation of vermouth de Chambéry, which is very generic, there is nothing specific. It's only one vermouth made in Chambéry. It was done on 1936 by the French. Mm-hmm. You know when the vermouth di Torino appellation was done by Italians?
I'd say early 1800s, that's my guess.
10 years ago.
10 years ago? Oh, okay, but they've been making it in Torino. Torino is the historical birthplace of vermouth, right?
Yeah,
but the appellation was only done 10 years ago.
Yes, because they couldn't get all the vermouth producers in the Turin region of Piemonte in Italy around one table, because they were just arguing with each other. And I couldn't believe that. I couldn't
Come on,
believe
Italians.
It's like,
work together.
And it took me years to explain if the categories growth, then all of you are gonna benefit because with more demand, you're gonna sell more. But let's park the selling part for a second. What can you do all together as communities, as producers, to really push forward and make the whole category more appealing around the world? Nobody was doing anything. The only thing they want to compete was on price.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was completely wrong.
Yeah. All right. So that's maybe that's tying into your point there. Maybe that's why a lot of Italian brands historically or categories haven't premiumized. It's because the Italians are competing amongst each other, not working together to go, okay, let's restrict supply, heighten demand, build the category up together. It's like they're all fighting amongst each other, and that just drives down the price and makes a lower value perception for the world.
Absolutely spot on. And if on top of that you're going to add that most of those historic brand or maison, they all run by the family, by the second, third, fourth, fifth generation family, still like in a family owned, they all arguing with each other because you're from the north, I'm from the south, you're from the east, I'm from the west. Yeah. Are you guys both producing limoncello? So why don't help each other?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you need to share your secrets. Just try to do something to get a little bit more appealing. It gets better. I have to say, nowadays there is a lot of small producers, also Federvini. He works very well in Italy to try to advertising the Italian spirits industry and producers outside of Italy, but very small. Comparing to France, we are dilettante.
Yeah.
We are dilettante.
Yeah.
We have a long way to learn from our French cousin. It's a hate and love between Italian and French, but this is one thing that we need to learn from them. Big time.
Yeah.
Armagnac.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about Armagnac appellation? Cognac at least is premium, but Armagnac, what is an Armagnac? But they have an appellation for everything.
Like 3 producers of Armagnac or something. Yeah. It's only vintage years. It's so rare.
Or otherwise, look, even the American wines. I'm traveling to America pretty often, into US. And I'm a big fan of Californian wine. Mm-hmm. Look, 20 years ago, it was no wine in California. Look at now. You go to Napa Valley.
They have champagne in California. Wow. They make champagne in California now.
What a juice they make. They're great. Yeah. They find the perfect microclimate, but they had a business approach. So they all working together, and instead of fighting on a price, they try to be as much premium as they can.
Yeah.
So it's if they can do it in the new world, I'm sure we can do in the old world.
Yeah. But even when I'm going to get slammed in the comments for this, but even when I see some Italian friends of mine speaking to each other, and they speak to each other in Italian, I'm like, why are you guys arguing? And no, we're not arguing. We're there's a lot of movement, a lot of passion, and I'm like, these guys are for sure having an argument right now, and they're like, no, we're just chatting. I'm like, okay.
remember that drama was invented in Italy, so Italians, they all like great drama queen, the drama king. Like it's. Even in my family, like my wife and my kids, like they were born and raised in UK. Like so, when we go back to Italy, they always think that like we arguing at home.
I bet.
The great thing is like in Italy, more south you go, and more loud it gets. Like so, you have roads like of course I'm from very close to Naples in Amalfi Coast. Like so, we have our own dialect. Like we're speaking very loud. Like no, we are not arguing. We just discussing like that's the way you do it. It's emotion, it's drama. Like they're telling you that you need to express yourself. I'm always giving this comment to my daughters. Probably lots of people, they're not gonna like it in the comments, but like I remember my grandfather. Okay, we used to have this little Piaggio bike, but back in the days you could go there in two. I was a kid without helmet and nothing in a little village, so it was not even dangerous. And I remember him, he was already probably 60. He telling me like, you see, Giuseppe, when you see something beautiful on the street, you need to tell them. And he was referring to ladies.
Oh, yeah?
It's like, you see how Bella she is. Like, hey, Bella, how are you today? It's like, today you cannot even do these comments. Like, it's like, what's wrong with that? Like, you try to make a compliment to somebody. Why you need to take it as an offense? And that's a little bit like the ABC of Italian. Like, they always like to express themselves. Like, probably now we'll learn a little bit how to control our emotion. But still, comparing to many other countries, to many other populations, like, we have all this drama in a heart, in our hearts. You just need to listen like the Italian anthem, like it's all about drama. It's like everybody's a little bit Pavarotti.
You sparked a memory then of my grandfather as well. And this is such the English version of exactly what you just said. And the English version of that is like my grandfather always used to tell me and my dad that when a lady passes by, you tip your cap. So it's literally you just head down and you just touch your cap. It's a very slight movement, and that's the English version of what you just said, because you wouldn't be so dramatic to say, oh, you look beautiful today, but you just go. And that's like just respect, and you move out of the way. It's the politeness thing. Like we have that very almost hospitality built into our culture, where you move out of the way and you let people pass, and you give them a little, like a sign of respect kind of thing. But it's very subtle. It's very meek. Anyway, we veered off. I was trying to ask you about starting Italicus, and we veered off into a segue, which I like. It's good. So you're working with Bacardi, you're doing a lot of research and development, you're working with, you see Rosolio. Does Rosolio necessarily just mean a bergamot liqueur? Thank you, man. Or is it a category, is it a process? What does it refer to, Rosolio?
So Rosolio is coming from two different Latin words, ros, olis. To translate it in English, that means the dew of sun, the morning dew.
Okay.
Why? Because back in the days, as you're probably familiar with, the monks, they used to go to harvest botanicals early in the morning. So when you go to harvest botanicals or leaves early in the morning, what do you find on top of the tree, on top of the fruits? A little morning dew. So the ros olis, which was the Latin two words, it became in Italian rosolio. And it's a category that basically every family, every region, every area, part of Italy, they were making around the 1600 and 1700. It was the most popular cordial or liqueur made in Italy. So in Sicily it was made with a fennel. In Calabria with a bergamot, in Amalfi Coast with a lemon, in Tuscany with the juniper berries, and in Turin, Piedmont with rose petals. Why? Because rose petals, by the king and the queen, it was considered to be one of the most luxurious botanicals. And a lot of people, they confuse still, until we got into with Italicus with all education, that rosolio, because it's very similar to the sounds of rose in Italian, rosolio was made only with roses. So before Italicus came to play, you will go online or will go in some books, you will find that like rosolio has to be made with rose petals. Absolutely not true. So it took me 3 years just to educate everyone, PR, media, bloggers, bartenders, journalists, that rosolio is not a rose liqueur, but it's coming from two different Latin words of ros, olis. the morning
Is there a
dew.
good written history of this?
Yeah. It's like we're getting there in a second. Which, but the whole history writing about this is all in Italians. So I went to find all these old books, recipe books from the late 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, and I found one called Il Liquorista Pratico by Luigi Sala, 1904. And he had all different types of rosolio because every family was making a different one. Then guess what? From a lemon rosolio on Amalfi Coast, it became limoncello. Like, from rosolio, like, made with the juniper berries in Tuscany, it became a gin or the juniper. Like, so everybody was making a different one. But then it became so untrend or uncool that most of the producers, okay, I'll give you this example. And I remember like having a beautiful message from my dear friend Matteo Luxardo from the Luxardo family. I remember him telling me like, actually we started in 1777 in Zara. Zara is a city that today is part of the Croatia. Back then it was Italy. So that's where the Luxardo family is from. And it was Rosolio di Marasca.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But then when they moved to Italy from Rosolio di Marasca, they just changed it with the Maraschino liqueur. So all of them, they were like limoncello, they were Rosolio. Maraschino was Rosolio. It was all of them. And every family, every region was making a different one. I want to make the one with the bergamot because I thought bergamot, it was something very close to me because my mom, she used to cook with the bergamot. I used to go to Calabria region for summertime, wintertime, in vacation. We used to have a house there. My parents, they used to have a house, so I was familiar with the fruits, and I couldn't see the bergamot anywhere. And I said, like, I want to be the first one to bring bergamot behind the bar. So I combined the Rosolio history with the bergamot flavor profile, and that's how Rosolio di Bergamotto came to life.
So Rosolio is historically a sweet liqueur of some kind, and then it's just branched off into lots of different...
Rosolio was the drink that when you will get married back in the days, because people that had not much to offer, they will give you a candy and a little glass of Rosolio. Or also Rosolio was called cordiale or cordial, because cordiale it also means like, being very nice to someone.
Yeah,
so if
cordial.
you
We say that in English as well, right? Yeah.
And when you're coming to visit, when you go to visit someone, the first thing they will offer you, it will be like a little glass of Rosolio, which was a little cordiale.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So Italicus, is Italicus just bergamot, or is there a few little... Is there, I mean, obviously it's bergamot, sugar, and alcohol. Something else?
Italicus is based on historic recipe of Rosolio di Torino from the book that I just mentioned over to you from 1904.
Yeah.
Which I find in this historic cocktail book, which include gentian, lemon balm, roses, Roman chamomile, and lavender.
Okay.
Which when I saw the recipe, I was like, it looks very interesting. So guess what? What I do as like most of the bartenders, I go to a distillery, I go to a lab, can you reproduce this recipe for me?
Yeah.
They reproduced the recipe, we're going for a tasting, and it was absolutely undrinkable. Because we don't drink and we don't eat what we used to drink and eat 100, 150 years ago. Yeah. But I kept the 5 ingredients, different ratio, different extraction process. But then what I added on top is the Cedro citrus lemon from Sicily, this giant yellow lemon, which is all about the skin and not about the juice. Yeah. And then like as a top notes, the bergamot citrus orange from the Calabria region, which is very pungent, very peppery citrus fruits.
Okay.
So it's 7 different botanicals on Italicus.
Yeah.
Alcohol and sugar to beat through the Rosolio recipe instead of just using normal sugar syrup, as you mentioned early on regarding the cheap plastic sugar syrup that you will buy. Yeah. Like we do what Rosolio when they were making Rosolio. So basically we're making our own sweetener. We do our own burnt sugar sweetener because that's what they used to do. So you had a little bit of melassa aftertaste. It's not just a simple syrup, just to be through as Rosolio.
Yeah.
And that is our great secrets.
Okay.
Like nobody knows exactly what kind of sweetener we're using for Italicus because we made it in the house.
Yeah, you heard it here first, people. I have more questions about Italicus, but we've got a drink. So I think we got 2 different drinks now, right? So we've got Savoia, I guess that's Orancio?
I guess you have the Orancio with white grapes. I think my one is the red one, Rosso.
Oh, okay. Cheers.
Salute.
Salute.
Yes, my one is the Rosso Americano.
Yeah, mine is, it's a little drier than I expected. It's nice. It's
Savoia Orange very dry. It's the lowest sugar amount in whole vermouth category. And because it's made with orange wine, you have a very high acidity.
Yeah, it's very crisp. Yeah. And I just want to just one more thing about Italicus. One thing I'm interested in is you take this concoction. You make a great liqueur, which to be honest, I'm sure there's many times people have put together a few ingredients, even in a bar. You don't even necessarily need a distillery to make you could make a banging liqueur in a bar with no equipment. Just take a bottle of vodka and some sugar or whatever, some neutral grain spirit. And I wonder how you explain the pop that you got, because you clearly you made a great liqueur. But what separates you in terms of branding and launch, and how do you turn that into a brand? Because I think it was kind of a cult brand for a while. Now I would say it's solidified itself as a staple in the bar industry. But when it came out, it had to be on the back bar for a while. I felt in most bars it had to be there somewhere. Every bartender knew about it. How do you explain that? Obviously, it's something to do with the flavor. It can't be shit, but it has to be drinkable and good. But there's something else, right? What's the something else?
The plan, the English lesson,
the English lesson. Okay, cool.
The hard work.
Yeah, okay.
I always like to say that between September 2016 till the end of 17, it's probably been the most amazing, beautiful time of my life. Even when you're at home on the sofa, 11 o'clock or, at noon, almost falling asleep, you got message from somewhere in the world that I just got your bottle, we're going to get on the menu. You just won an award. So it was just as I said, a roller coaster in a positive way. At that one, it was all the planning and the hard work. So I learned very quickly, thanks to the English system and experience in London, and as well visiting so many times the US beforehand, that I had to plan. So I had my finance, I had my accountant, I had my lawyer, I had my marketing strategy, I had my advocacy strategy. I knew exactly what I was doing. It was nothing just left at last minutes to the luck or to improvisation. That's what we do too many times as Italian, and that's what lots of people they underestimate.
Yeah.
Of course,
I don't think it's just you as Italians. Just to give you a break there on being Italian, I think there's many people who can give any advice to anyone, myself included. I've done it. I think we're all guilty of it. We do something that's worthwhile, but we don't give it the plan that it deserves to get it where it deserves to be. Anyway, I just wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And on this side, I didn't leave anything to a chance. Obviously, coming from the industry, I know lots of people. Most of the top influencers, that's how we call them today. And they were very good friends, so they helped me out big time. I wouldn't mention one or two, it was a lot of them. Obviously, the Italian family did help out, but also beyond that, because I was very well respected and very well connected in the industry. So all of a sudden, in 3 months since the launch, we were in the top bars in London, we were in top bars in Milan, we were in top bars in Paris, and thanks also to all this pool coming from the on-trade. But also I knew that it wouldn't last long if I wouldn't have the right strategy, business strategy. So I knew that I had to have the funds, the capital, the distribution, the advocacy, the education, the assets, the collateral, and I had to make sure to be there all the times. And I had back then a 6-year-old daughter and 3-year-old daughter, my wife at home, so it was not easy for me traveling over the weekend, going away for 2 weeks. I was sacrificing a lot on my personal side, and I do value a lot the time I spend with my family. But I knew that it was something bigger happening over there. And hopefully, down the line, it will pay back big time. Today, I can say that it was the right things to do.
Yeah.
It was not easy. And I'll tell you this little anecdote that I usually don't share much with a lot of people. I remember going to New Orleans to tell Savoia Cocktail in July 2017. So we just launched Italicus in US, May 2017. It was launched in September 16 in Europe. So like it was fresh new. It was not even 1 year old. We go there and we are running up on the top 4 best product of the year against, I think, Ancho Rice, Hendrix, Del Maguey, Vida Mezcal. So brands, they already won tails many times before, coming from big companies, so like a well-founded company, corporation, and we won. So I go there, accept the awards, we go, we celebrate with all the Italians, we're having some fun, flying back home. And I remember arriving at home, back home, it was July in London, and I didn't feel well. I couldn't stand up, I couldn't talk, I don't know what was wrong with me. So I go to the doctor, it's like, I don't know, I can't hear well, I can't see properly. And the doctor's like, your stress is just too high. You need just to switch off. Now for a week, you don't do nothing. No, it's impossible. It's like, we just won an awards. I have an interview. I have the PR. I need to go here. It's like, no, you don't understand. You just need to close now. Because otherwise, that's how much stress I had in the first 10 months of life of Italicus to really try to bring some success to the brand. At that point, when we won Tales of the Cocktail, I could feel that it was something special into the brand. Job was not done yet. The major party was coming, but I knew that we were like, let's say like the flavor of the year, the flavor of the month, and lots of people that were watching us. From that point, my main challenge was just like keep structuring the business, keeping adding the right talent, expanding the distribution, get the right funding, the right capital, and get like all the right plan behind the brand. Nothing comes by luck. Luck is an attitude. You need to go looking for it.
Yeah, that's good advice. But I know. Well, first of all, I completely empathize with that feeling. I have a 3-year-old daughter. I travel a lot for work, and it's for various things. But sometimes you're away trying to build something, and you question it big time because hindsight's amazing. You can look back and go, that was the right decision. But when you're in the middle of it and you're like, but I'm doing this thing and I don't know if it's going to work, and I'm away from my daughter, and there's these little things that happen, and you're like, woof, like it's tricky, man. Having a kid at home, when you have a lot of work to do, it's tricky, man.
And for me, it was even different because to launch Italicus, I had to remortgage my flat where my wife and my daughter that were living it. So I knew that failure, it was something that I would never take in consideration because failure on business side, that would mean I will failure on my family, my personal side. Yeah. And I would not allow that to happen to my family. Yeah. So I worked hard like never before.
That's a fire to put under yourself, right? That's huge. You put everything on the line while you've got a family and say everything rides on this succeeding. Man, nothing is going to drive you to make that succeed more than anything else in the world. Yeah, that's a huge driver.
That's why when lots of people ask me, what will be your first advice, to be successful in your life? You need to work hard.
Remortgage everything.
Don't remortgage. Go and find money somewhere else. I wouldn't wish nobody that. Yeah. But you got to work hard. Yeah. You need to work very, very hard. You need to have an auto-discipline regime to yourself, really in order to have a consistency and to have a longevity. We mentioned when we started now today that I've been in the industry now for over 25 years. Yeah. And it feels a new day every day to me. But but I've been applying the same discipline and regime every day, every month, every year for the last 20.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder how easy that is to communicate nowadays. And this is where I'm going to sound old to someone who's 20 or whatever. But there's something which has happened in both of our lifetimes where we remember a time before social media, for example. Social media is one thing, but just that kind of culture where you very quickly see the result of something, like social media will show you look, I made this thing, and boom, 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 it's 7-second video, and you're like, yeah, but usually it takes months of just turning up and doing the grind work and doing probably 99% of the stuff that you do is kind of boring grunt work. You're in airports and occasionally you win an award, but it's it's like 4 seconds and then you're like back to it, answering emails, making calls, like calling people, making plans, writing structures out. And I think, and this is not an attack on any generation or any people whatsoever, but it must be difficult to never have remembered a time before social media where you see just you just constantly getting this reinforcement of, like, you know, whatever, just even just swiping on Instagram, just scrolling, and just, you know, just constant sort of reward for nothing, you know. I think it's difficult to say discipline, even just to say discipline as a positive word. Be disciplined. Like I feel like if I say, like, you need to be disciplined to a 20-year-old, they're like, whoa, don't attack me, man. Like, no, but that's a positive word. Be disciplined. Be structured and disciplined and systematic and work hard. Even work hard almost feels on the edge of negative nowadays.
Why?
You know, but it shouldn't be. It's like, oh, I worked hard. You know, I worked, you know, like, whatever, you know, we used to work, I mean, I think there's a balance, because I used to work 80, 90, I remember a couple of times, you know, we used to write timesheets on paper, and I'd write 100 on the timesheet at the end of the week, because you used to have to write daily, and then at the end of the week you had to add your hours up, and you'd write how many hours you did, and the odd time I'd hit 100, and I'd be like, 100? Did 100? I was getting paid a salary. I was like, whether I did 100 or 50, I got paid for 40, no matter what. So, like, but I was still proud of it. And I think that's too far in the other direction. Like, no one should be working 100 hours and getting paid for 40. But I also don't think you should be ashamed of working really hard to get where you got to, you know, even if that means you get screwed over for 5-10 years, as we probably all did in hospitality, right? We all probably worked harder than what we got paid for, and then we got somewhere and it all started paying off a little bit.
Do you remember how much was the minimum hours paying when you were working in the bar? I do remember mine.
Oh, I remember mine from, well, I remember, I can give you a couple. Yeah. You're a little bit older than me, but I'm also from the north, so we were about 10 years behind you. So go on, tell me.
So when I was still working at the Sanders, so running the bar, paid by hours as a manager, my hour pays, which was high back then, it was £4.50 per hour. Now you know how much it is in the UK?
Oh, I do know. Yeah, I have 2 bars in the UK. I know exactly how much it is. It just went up in April, and it's I don't know. We pay above the minimum wage, but I think the minimum wage is like 11 something now, or 12.
12.75 from April.
From April, 12.75 from April for everyone over 21.
Yeah.
It's
and you still have people which they don't want to work because they say it's not enough.
Yeah.
Well, I've been screwed not once. Like probably most of my life I've been screwed. I've been working too many hours. I've been underpaid. People that shout on me, people that bully me, yes. People that patronize me, yes. I've been fired or removed or whatever, like, you know, for many, many reasons. But if you don't go through that one, you're never gonna become strong enough to really prove that you can do it differently. Yeah. Like, again, I agree with you. Don't want to point out any generation. I think we're in a much better position today because we understand there is more balance. But I think sometimes we're going a little bit too far to a certain extent, where, like, you know, before even you apply for a job, you want to know how much you're gonna get paid. What can you do, or what do you know how to do the job? Do you have an experience? Before we're gonna talk even about money. But beside that, like, to your point, there is the famous theory of the 100-meter sprinter. You know, those guys, they work hard 4 years of their life, and they put all the chip, all the gambling in a 10 seconds run, which everything can happen. It may gonna be wet, it may gonna be slip, it may gonna break your legs. You never know. Like, you never make somebody gonna be stronger than you. Maybe, like, you know, you're not gonna qualify. Like, you've been working 4 years, no stop, every day, every morning, 6 days per week, just to get to that 100 meters qualify or final. So, like, you just look at the sport. That's why I'm always telling everyone, like, you know, you want to work as an industry? Well, do you do any sport? No, I think you should do a sport. Because sport, it does teach lots of discipline. Sport, do you know any sport person which has been successful without working hard? It's impossible. No. You need to train yourself. So why is allowed with sport, it cannot be allowed in our industry? When anyway, everybody who we know which has been successful is also because, I've been working very hard, they've been consistently for many, many years. And the flip side, Steve Jobs thought that the PC, the laptop, will change our life. What really changed our life is the iPhone. Because today, even my kids, they think with one click, I can get delivered to my door in 24 hours. So they don't have that passion to wait. They don't know what does it mean building from scratch or go looking for it. I want everything and now, one click away. That one is going to stay, it's not going to change. It just matters to understand, educating, and explain that not everything can be like that.
No. And I think the education will always be there to some degree, because there'll always be the people who are willing to go that extra mile, to work that extra little bit harder, and they'll be the ones that succeed. And everyone else will have to look at those people and go, what made them succeed? And if the answer continues to be, I worked hard, I had a plan, if it continues to be that, which I believe it probably will, then it's going to continue. But I do think it's more difficult to see that, and I think there needs to be less of a negative connotation to saying work hard, be disciplined, have a plan. Which I think has kind of gone now. Anyway, I think it was kind of a 5-year period of people being a bit soft and whatever. And I think it's kind of over now. Anyway, what are we're drinking? When did you bring this brand out?
Here we got Savoia. It's my second brand, which is a vino aperitivo. So we launched Savoia in 2021. This one is the
Savoia.
Yeah. Like very simple. So Savoia is an international word because it's coming from the Savoia in France. The House of Savoia, it was the royal family who united Italy as a country as we know today. A lot of people that think Italy is existing since the Roman Empire is absolutely not true.
It's a young country.
Italy became a unified country in 1861. Thanks to the House of Savoia, which was the royal family in Turin, which they started the expedition with Giuseppe Garibaldi, the famous General Garibaldi, who went to Sicily, arrived in Marsala, where he discovered this victory wine that, thanks to Mr. Woodhouse from Liverpool, UK, he made such a success for many years before. He really enjoyed, and all the soldiers, they were wearing this red jacket, so they were calling the Giacche Rosse, the red jacket. That's why Savoia Rosso. And because it started the unification of Italy in 1861, the ABV of Savoia Rosso is 18.6. He left the port of Genoa with 2 boats, arriving in Sicily after 24 days, protected by the British Navy, because they were interested to liberate Italy, so they would witness the Spanish and the French Empire.
Anything to weaken the Spanish.
And that's why we're using 24 different botanicals.
Yeah.
So this one is a bitter style of vermouth. So obviously you have the wormwood, but also you have the bergamot, you have the cardamom, and you have the mandarin, you have the grapefruit, you have the ginseng, you have the rhubarb. So a very complex recipe. You can use it on its own, like a normal classic vermouth, a little bit more bitter, or otherwise you can have a nice refreshing spritz with Prosecco, or as I prefer it, with a tonic water. I become a little bit too much English with my tonic water.
No, it's fine. But so would you classify it, is it a fortified wine or is it not fortified?
Aromatized wine.
Aromatized.
Vermouth, 100%, both of them.
Okay.
And the first one is made with the Marsala Fino.
Yeah.
Dry Marsala coming from Sicily, aged in cask for 14 months.
The first one being your one.
My one.
Yeah.
The classic one. And then in 2020, end of 23, so beginning of 24, we introduced Savoia Orancio, which is supposed to be a limited release, but then it became very successful and is the first ever vermouth made with orange wine. We're using orange wine coming from the center of Italy, which is made with 2 different types of grapes. One is Malvasia, which is the red grapes, and the other one is the Uni Blanc Trebbiano, which is the white grapes. Orange wine, as everybody knows, is the first ever sort of form of wine human being ever created, which was originally from the Black Sea, Caspian Sea area, so the center of Asia, and it was brought to Europe by Marco Polo in 1200, where he find this delicious style of beverage over there, which has this orange color, because they were leaving the skin of red grapes infusing with the wine, the juice the most. And he brought back to Italy from his trip to Europe, from his trip to China. So the second one, Savoia Orange, is inspired by the story of Marco Polo. The first one by the story of Giuseppe Garibaldi. And because Marco Polo left Venice with his father and dad to go to China, in 1272, the alcohol by volume of Savoia Orange is a 17.2.
Okay.
And it took him 21 years to go from Venice to China, go back. That's why we're using 21 botanicals. It's a spice and citrus vermouth made with ginger, red tea, kaffir lime, pomegranates, apple, and so on and so forth. So it's a little bit different in terms of vermouth. There's nothing like that in the industry. For someone who got a little bit more gray hair, we know that during the late 70s, early 80s, orange vermouth was a big thing, mainly in France, Italy, and Spain. So you still have some historic brands and maison that they were making this orange style of vermouth.
Yeah, to me, this it almost has a dry sherry kind of vibe to it. It's got the vermouth kind of botanicals, slightly less bitter, also very dry, but yeah, like a Fino sherry, very, very dry finish on it. Well, yeah, very nice with the grapes. Maybe you can just explain what an orange wine is. So yeah, I know we spoke about where it comes from and stuff, but I've seen it on menu. You know, natural wine places love to have an orange wine on there nowadays. Yeah, and I actually forget exactly. I did know at some point, but it's left my brain.
It's as I mentioned, it's the first form of wine human being ever made it. From centuries ago. It's very, very basic. So back in the days, nobody had any knowledge about how to make wine, and they would take white grapes, red grapes, smash everything together, and let it ferment it. Now, when you leave the most, that's how you're calling the wine juice, right? The most like an infusing or macerating with the red grapes. Of course, it does extract the color from the grapes. That's why today probably lots of our friends, they're familiar with the Blanc de Blanc, Blanc de Noir, Noir de Blanc, which they give into champagne. What does it mean? That probably like they're using blanc grapes infused with black grapes, or vice versa, or Blanc de Blanc, two white grapes, Noir de Noir. That's mainly used in the champagne area, in the champagne industry. Nowadays, orange wine is very on trend. You should go to Brooklyn or Williamsburg in New York. There is no one.
I used to live in Brooklyn.
Hippie bar.
Trends go like any trend that's anywhere else in the world. You drop it in Williamsburg, it goes way too far.
And they have sometimes like a list of like 7 or 8 different types of orange wine. Obviously, orange wine most of the time it must to be 100% natural because of the production process. Some of them they got fermented in a glass. Some of them in wood. The one we're using is from glass, so it's a little bit more clean and nil. So we don't have much tannins. At least the one we're using for Savoia. It's become very trendy because it's also very popular now to make on the northeast of Italy, as well the Croatia, Slovenia, they make some great orange wine, very popular in France, very popular in Spain. All the wine countries, they're very familiar with orange wine. And I'm very glad to see that I go in more restaurants and I see at least 1 or 2 different brands of orange wine. Now, you will see that with those product like the Marsala in Savoia Rosso, the orange wine in the Savoia Orange, as well as with the Bergamot with Italicus, we all apply the same rule. We are innovating, we are not duplicating. We're never gonna make something which is already available in the market. Yes, vermouth is already available as a category, but there is a way that we can innovate in the vermouth markets. Now you can innovate adding more sugar and color to your red vermouth, or talking about your whatever spirits alcohol you're using to make your vermouth, where 80% in the bottle it's wine. So why are you talking about alcohol when you need to talking about wine? What we do with Savoia, we're talking about the wine. 80% of the juice it's wine. So you need to know exactly what wine we're using and where it's coming from, as well as all the botanicals and the rest of it.
Yeah, and I suppose it's slightly stronger than a vermouth, right? What did you say the ABV was?
Vermouth usually they're going between 15% to 21% alcohol by volume. So we are just in the middle. The people find very funny that we are 18.6 to 7.2, 17.2. Usually vermouth is 15, 16, 18, 20. We are a little bit playful with that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I want to ask you about you're here now to do the Barcelona Cocktail Festival. You're also the founder of founder is a good word for Roma Bar Show.
Co-founder, yes.
Co-founder. Okay, cool. So you did Roma Bar Show. You grew that. Where did that come out? How did that start? How did you grow it? You know, how many people did it start with? How many people was it last year? Because it's interesting to know, what that kind of journey was, and then we can talk about the Barcelona Cocktail Festival, because that's the future, right?
It's in 2018. I was approached by a couple of people from Italy. We want to do something in Italy. We really think that it's the right time to do it. And as we discussed so far, there is so many Italian bartenders all around the world. Why we don't choose to do something in Italy? And I thought, great idea. I can do something that I can really give back to my country. I build my brands around the made in Italy. My company is called Ital Spirits. One brand is called Italicus. Another one has the royal name Savoia. So we can do something that we can give back to the community. And I say, yes. Do I have the time? No. It's my number one project? No. It's my core business? No. But if it's something that I will give back to the community, I will do so. I did it 2019. It was the first year. First year was really, how can I say, concerning, because it's an event. It's a big monster. But at the end everything went well. It was the worst time ever to obviously launch an event, because then a few months later we got locked down because of the COVID. So for 2 years we couldn't run the show. So then we reopened in 2022. We done 22, 23, and 24. It went from the first year where we done 4,000 or 5,000 people to the last year when we done almost 10,000 people in 2 days. So all of a sudden it blow up.
But even starting with 4,000 is insane. That's so good, man.
Oh yeah, it's usually when I do something, it's big. I never do small things. And if you could see, from the last 10, 15 years, every year I do one big project. This one was the big one for 2019. And then we were approached in 2024 from a big events conference company in Italy that they want to buy out. And of course, say, let's discuss. My partners, they were very happy to sell to them. I didn't really find very exciting to stay in just working for another company or just managing. And I said, okay, it's a good time for us to step out. And it's been one of the most successful, a quick turnaround business that I ever worked with.
Good, nice, man. I like it. So now you're shifting focus a little bit to Barcelona Cocktail Festival. What's your position with the Cocktail Festival in Barcelona?
Very funny one, this one, because this morning I was having this chat, because when we launched the Roma Bar Show, I remember that I came here after a few months for an event in Barcelona, and the day after we're catching up with Giacomo Giannotti from Paradiso, and it's this little cafe just off Barceloneta, and Giacomo come to me and said, listen, I really want to do a bar show, something here in Barcelona. I think we should do it. You done Rome, can you help me here in Barcelona? And we had everything planned. We're supposed to launch the Barcelona Bar Show in 2020. It was everything there, ready to go. But then, of course, with the COVID came, we had to stop everything. So we left there. The COVID obviously shake up a lot of things. And then Giacomo started this little summit every year, smaller and smaller here in Barcelona. And then we catch up about 10 months ago. And he's listen, the summit, it was great, but now I want this little project that I have here in Barcelona to become a real business. So I want to make sure that it become an international platform, so we can bring top bars from around the world here to Barcelona, but also we can export Barcelona, Spain, all around the world in our industry. Would it be interesting to work together? And that's how we co-founded the Barcelona Cocktail Fest. Which will be tomorrow and after tomorrow at Palo Alto, 18 and 19 of April 2026. We have 8 of the best bars coming from all around the world, from South America to Singapore, from Rome to Oslo, from Paris to New York, and we sold out. We're very happy with that. So we probably foreseen about 3,000 to 4,000 people attending in the next couple of days.
That's awesome.
So, busy weekend.
Easy, man. Yeah, cool. So, I mean, yeah, I went to the one last year, which again, I know Giacomo's done it in a smart way. He's kind of transferred slowly from a sustainability or the Paradiso Summit, the sustainability summit, and Barcelona Cocktail Festival, and grown over time, which is a very smart way of doing things. So. What do you see? I mean, by the time people watch this, this year's will be over anyway. So, what do you see happening for next year? What do you see the future of? How does it differentiate itself from Athens or BCB or?
This one will be the first. That's why we call it the Barcelona Cocktail Fest. Because
what was it called last year?
That one was the Sustainability Summit.
It was still the same. Okay, yeah.
But it was still very much focused on trade. It was very much focused on the trade, the professional, the bartenders. When this year the real target is the consumer, the final consumer.
Yeah.
So all the tickets we sold is all directed to consumer. So we're not just gonna talk about or host the bartenders, professional, ambassador, journalists, which we do have. We have a journalist, ambassador coming from US, from UK, from Italy, from France, but the main part, 80% of the attendees will be consumers. I think post-COVID and the last decade, things that really switched. And there is now more need to talk directly with the consumers and a little bit less directly with the on-trade. There is so many other opportunity or occasion that you can talk to with the bartenders or with the professional. In this case, we want to talk directly with the consumer. We want the consumer to experience the best cocktail made by the best bars and bartenders from all around the world. And it's a truly international platform now.
Yeah.
From next year, we have some big plan. We're looking potentially same location, different location, slightly a little bit format, try to expand a little bit the format, not just for the 2 days, perhaps a little bit longer. So we have a few ideas that we will regroup perhaps in a month time after this weekend is over, really starting to lay down for the next year. And we want to start very, very early on. So instead of starting 6 months before the show, already by June, July, we're going to starting to talk with the brands, partners, consumer to make sure to be ready for April 27.
Yeah. So what's the shift in going from on-trade to consumer? Well, what drives that then? I'm thinking that maybe the reason that you need to target consumers more, there's probably a couple of reasons. One is maybe that bartenders are maybe they've gone too far into creating their own stuff, and maybe back bars and stuff are not as prominent as they used to be, and menus are so complicated now that brands aren't getting as much visibility as they used to get. Or maybe it's that the consumer is more educated than they used to be, and therefore it is possible for you to bring Al Chimico, and they can and people actually know about this bar across the other side of the world. Well, what is it that shifts you towards consumers?
It was very much one question. I've been traveling around the world, attending bar show, cocktail festival, and I did ask one question. I remember chatting with Jack. I was like, when it was last time you went to a bar show and you came back? He said, I discovered or learned something new. Very rarely today. You see bar show turning basically into a clown circus. I'm sorry to use these words, but you see throwing things from the stand, making shots, loud music. I don't like that. I don't like that. It's then what's the point to promote all this drink responsible if you go into a bar show just to get waste? That's something that I completely disagree. Music, DJ, shots, what is this? And I'm old enough that, I used to go to the first ever bar show in London, the London Bar Show in Olympia. And I remember that the bar show was the first ever, it was the biggest opportunity for all of us because it was the beginning of the golden age, 2005, 2006. It failed because the London Bar Show they were putting like the tequila embassy, where every small artisanal producer of tequila, which back then it was a very small category, they would try to explain how they were making artisanal and handmade it and craft it, and then next to it they would put, without mentioning any brand, like a loud music DJ with energy drinks and like in a shot of Amaro here. It's like, and you couldn't even talk to your guest.
I think we can guess the brand there, by the way. Just so you know.
And like, so it's like, what do you want to do? Like, you want to do a party? Like, you want to do a fiesta? Or you want to educate someone? Okay? Now, there is so many opportunities you can educate bartenders. You have forum, cocktail class, brand ambassador, advocacy, brand home visit. So it's plenty of those. Do the brands really need another bar show to educate bartenders? And do bartenders go to bar show to learn or to drink?
I think the answer to that is there's maybe a thing before they arrive in their head that like, I'm going to learn. But when they get there, it all falls to shit, and they don't, because I've fallen victim to it myself. You go to a lot of these bar shows, and every single stand you go, every brand you go to, and you know a lot of the people at the brands, and you say, oh, hello. Every single interaction involves another tasting, maybe at least one tasting, maybe sometimes 4 or 5. You're like, oh, taste this, taste this, taste this. And you're like, you go to BCB, there's going to be 100 stands that you're going to stop in over 2 days, and each one's going to give you 2 or 3 drinks. You can't, like, even if you take tiny sips, you can't avoid the fact that you're going to get trashed by the end of the day, and you need to be super tactical. There used to be, even Tales of the Cocktail is very different to BCB. It's more experiential, I think. It's more, you move around more. It's more educational, I think. I think Tales of the Cocktail is, far more about the seminars. I don't know if it's still the same, but the last time I went, you had to buy seminars, not tickets. You don't buy a ticket for the event. You buy 2 seminars, and then you get a ticket to the event. So you have to attend 2 seminars, and that's very cool. I like that.
It's exactly the reason why we have a Charlotte Bosley, the new president of Tales of the Cocktail, be here in Barcelona for those days, because that's what I really admire about Tales of the Cocktail. It's about education. And we're going back, when we're talking about the brand ambassador, what's your main goal? Education. Like, you go to Tales of the Cocktail, the city is beautiful. New Orleans is like, it just, the vibe, the soul, like you
what is it?
Sweaty, hot,
so
smelly, but you feel there is
amazing.
something in the city that that is really magic. There is only there. Like I really find very spiritual. Like a second, you learn something new there, because you learning from the best in the industry. And then in the evening, when everything's finished, you want to go to some party, whatever they do, like go and enjoy yourself. I have no problem with that. But don't tell me to go to a bar show, you pay tickets just because you're gonna go stand by stand and have free drinks everywhere. What are you gonna remember at the end of the day? You may go through some very interesting stuff, but you're not gonna remember anything. So it's from one side, BCB Berlin has been really the open gate for all of us, because you can do a lot of business. Personally, myself with the brands, I probably find between 5 to 10 new markets importer for the brands attending BCB. Some other, you go there, you just go there for a week or a few days of fiesta again. It's okay. If you 25, you want to go, you want to enjoy yourself, go and have a fiesta. It's not something that I want to do. I'm a little bit older than that, and I don't want to focus on investing in any business which it doesn't really have a long-term shot or long-term vision. As I did for the Roma Bar Show, that I want to give back to the community, and then all of a sudden we have 3 bars in Rome in the list of the top 50 best, or 5 bars in Italy on the top 50 best. And the same thing I want to do here in Barcelona with the Giacomo. So really focusing on sustainability. But what doesn't mean sustainability for our industry? Okay, let's cut the out. Okay, let's go straight to the point. Can you really be sustainable as a bar? If you want to be sustainable, what does that mean? Or maybe we need to be a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit more operational. And there are ways that we can really help the world and the next generation to be a little bit more conscious of what we do in our industry. If you see all our talk, they're all about that. It's not about how many complicated ingredients I'm going to use and what bitters I'm going to use in my undiscovered cocktail, which I'm not going to share the recipe with nobody because I'm the only one who can make it. Who cares? Do you really need a consumer that want to go to a bar and find out your 11 ingredients cocktail? They're going to a bar because they want to have a good time.
Yeah.
Dick Brassel used to say, I make my cocktail simple because I want other bartenders to be able to replicate so they will become famous and people they're going to recognize my name behind the cocktail. So today, when we're making an espresso martini, it's thanks to Dick Brassel, which was a very simple 3-4 ingredients cocktail. Or, look at the pornostar martini, or look at the Russian spring punch. Like all of these, like they're all very simple, they became new classics. Or the Tommy's Margarita from Julio.
Yeah, that's very simple. Yeah.
Very simple to
and
make.
It's an amazing drink. Yeah.
Like, so it doesn't need to be too complicated. Like, you need to entertain your customer at the bar with a story, with the storytelling, with your charm, with your fun, with your humor, with the music, with the environment. Not just talking about how many days it took you to make this very little bitter, which nobody knows because it's a little secret of yours. And that's where we're trying to go with the Barcelona Cocktail Fest.
Well, how does that education tie in then to, you're saying you're targeting consumers more. I suppose you still want bartenders to come. You still welcome the bartenders, and you're gonna have, you've got. I know you've got Alchimico and Himcock and Drink Kong,
Locale. Like we got 8 bars from the 50 best bar in the world.
Yes, yeah, and they're doing a talk as well. Are they doing like a stand and a talk? Everyone does a stand and a talk or something like that, or
all the bars they're gonna be working in one stand where we're going to sell cocktails at very reasonable price. We're going to charge 6 or 7 euro per cocktail, so very reasonable, because we want people to understand it's not a free drink.
Yeah.
On top of your ticket, which again is very reasonable, but like again, you need to pay to enter and you need to pay to have your cocktail. Then each bar also you're going to do a seminar on stage about their approach to sustainability. And I'm always like to give this very simple example. We are in our industry, you see most of the bar where I go around, you find like the bamboo straw, which I think they're great, right? Like you can drink, it's bamboo, it's not. How many consumers they know what's the difference between a bamboo and a plastic straw?
Don't know.
If I can convince the 3,000 consumers they're going to come to Barcelona Cocktail Fest, next time they're going to go to a bar or restaurant not to ask for a plastic straw, what impact is going to have on sustainability in our world? That's what we need to aim. Like, let's start with the simple things. And then let's see all together how we can help. So we have the education part on a seminar, which each bar, as well as journalists or other speakers, they're going to be there. They're going to present. And then each bar, sponsored by a brand, they're going to serve 1 or 2 cocktails in a half serve. We're going to have music. We're going to have some POS making, some glass making, some glass painting. We're going to have food truck. So it's going to be a little bit more an experience and not just one bar where we're going with our 10 friends bartenders and we're going to have as many shots as we want.
I think it's a good idea, man. It's a good move. Well, I think that's a good point to end on. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.